Recent police report indicates a significant increase in road accidents in 2024. 25,107 road crashes recorded in 2024, a 6.4% increase from 2023. Fatalities rose by 7%, totaling 5,144 deaths. Motorcyclists were the most affected, with 1,720 deaths, making a 13.2% increase from the previous year. Recently, we have noticed a rise in crashes. Superintendent of Police Michael Kananura is the traffic police spokesperson. He outlines the mandate of the Traffic Directorate in ensuring road safety.
As traffic police, we are mandated to enforce the laws and regulations of traffic on the roads. And you realize that we are on the forefront of enforcement when it comes to the road, and where we are always deployed every day. I don't think there are times you people have moved on the road and then you have not found anywhere traffic officers. We are always there. We are checking on those key things that drivers must have, checking on the discipline of the drivers. And we have also, by the way, gone ahead to conduct some road safety sensitization campaigns targeting all road users, that include the market vendors, that include the taxi drivers, lorry drivers, boarders, school-going children, those ones in primary schools, all that, to ensure that these people get to learn and understand what is happening on our roads, and then to improve also the behavior, or promote that behavioral change. Because we believe that when you look at these crashes that occur, out of all those crashes that occur, you realize that 80% is something to do with human error. So if the human error can be improved, and then we change our attitude and behaviors, and we do what we are supposed to be doing, then it means that these crashes can really be avoidable, or can be reduced by 80%. And then maybe the other causes can be the ones that maybe we do not have control over. When you look at the recent crashes, it's true that there have been quite a number of them. I remember there's a time recently where we registered like 3 crashes in a span of, I think, just hours or a day, where we lost 17 people. There were 3 crashes, one killing 9, another one killing 5, another one killing 4. So you can imagine. So it is true that recently we have had a number of them, and the roads have really not been so much that safe. And the reasons why, when you look at the speeding, because every other crash that we come out to give the details about, we either find careless overtaking or speeding. Actually now putting speeding as the major cause, because whosoever violates the overtaking thing, like where someone now is overtaking carelessly, there are people who overtake in places which are busy. These are people who overtake on hills, actually where you cannot see, where you can't clearly see what is ahead of you, and then you find yourself still you want to overtake. Whoever violates now that law of overtaking or regulation of overtaking, then they also in one way violate the speed limits or recommended on the road. Take for instance, if you are in a city, in a built up place where we are talking of 30 kilometers per hour, and then you find someone overtaking in such a place, there is no doubt that that person is above 30 kilometers per hour. Because for you to succeed in overtaking, you must violate the speed limits that are recommended in particular places. On highways where we are talking of 90 kilometers per hour, and you find someone overtaking like a queue of vehicles, 5, 6 of them, what does that mean? That for you are driving above 90 kilometers per hour, and the ones you are overtaking, probably for them they have obeyed, that's why they may be slow somehow. And then for you now, who is moving ahead of 5, 6 vehicles to overtake them, you are flying actually. You are in 140, 160, 120. That's what happens. And of course, we all know the impact or the effects of speeding. It reduces your reaction time. The time you would want to react and brake that vehicle, and it brakes before it stops in time. It is all managed and determined by the speed that you are moving at. So in most cases, it's very hard, difficult for such a people who are speeding now to have control of those vehicles, to brake in time and maybe let whatever is passing to pass. So just because of that now, that's why we see these crashes increase. Because most of them are speeding, you hear they are speeding, even if it is brake failure, by the way. It is when that you are speeding now, you try to engage your brakes, and all of a sudden they cannot because of the speed. The speed itself now also now overwhelms the brakes, and they cannot do what? They cannot brake, and they cannot help you, they can't assist you. You are trying to overtake the same way. So speeding has been the major. Even if you look at in our report of last year 2024, speed and overtaking alone, this was contributed to 44.5% of the total crashes that we registered in the year 2024. So meaning if we can ably control speed and that habit of careless overtaking, we shall reduce these crashes to 44.5%. And who is doing this speeding? It's not a police officer. It is you who is using the road. That even regardless of our talking every now and then, I don't count the number of times I appear to the media and speak to people, tell them about careless overtaking. But as you're moving on the road, it is the same thing that you encounter. Not until when I think people have had maybe bad experiences, of which you don't pray for. It has become hard for them and us to have this put into practice, where people are really obeying their traffic rules and the regulations, especially when it comes to speeding. And someone may ask themselves now, why have we now not handled this since we are aware? It is hard. Why? Traffic officers, look at the number of traffic officers on the road vis-a-vis the vehicles that we have and the motorcycles. There are many. I've seen many people urge out to something. If you have, some of you moved through these traffic lights, you find like 100 motorcycles violating. It's like a swarm of bees violating the traffic lights. How many traffic officers do we see at that point? There are only 2, at most 3 or 4. So tell me, how will the 4 traffic officers jump onto these 100 motorcycles to get them and penalize them for that? No way, other than letting them go, because after all, for you are even controlling the jam other than now enforcing. So it becomes hard for us because we are few compared to the vehicles that we have. 2, you also realize that when motorists are moving, when these vehicles are moving, they have turned it into a habit of now monitoring traffic officers. So it's as if these people now are driving officers on the roads, not to protect their own lives and lives of other people. So they even know how to communicate. They ask each other, where have you seen them? Where are they? They know how the lights they put on, the signs they make to show you that the traffic officers are somewhere ahead. They even in their communications, their signals, they even know how to communicate the offense that is being handled at a particular time of the officers. If it is speed, they will communicate. If it is vomit, they will communicate. So what does this mean? That now when these motorists approach where traffic officers are, instead of allowing to be checked, they will get panyas and dodge the traffic, or else they reduce the speed and they are the most disciplined. They lower even their glasses, they even wave at traffic officers, or they are the best drivers, they are the best motorists on the road. But let them quit, let them leave where the traffic officers are. They will again start flying in the night, for instance. How many traffic officers do you meet in the night other than the checkpoints? So these people, where there are no traffic officers, they get back to their indiscipline and all sorts of things that they do on the roads. And that's why you also realize that most of the crashes that we register, these nasty ones, they happen in the night. They happen in the night, and also in places or points if it is day, where we don't have these traffic officers. Of course, it is not only speeding and the unsafe overtaking that are causing these problems on the road, but also other causes like following too close. Situations where we are driving, then you choose to be too close to the vehicle that is ahead of you. Things like we also have crashes of hit and run, where we cannot know what has happened, but then we just find people dead on the road and pick them. And also things like vehicles that are being driven on the roads when they are not roadworthy. They are very old and in very poor state. And of course, it means that when such vehicles are moving, it's where we have situations like vehicles cannot brake, for example, and the other things. Then there are the vehicles that overturn, there are the vehicles that are failed on slopes, and then they overturn due to brake failure. And of course, now that also goes to vehicles being driven on these roads when they are in dangerous mechanic condition, and many other causes. But the other ones being picked out because they are the major. And even if you look at the ones I've just mentioned, you also find in speeding, for example, hit and run. It is because of the vehicle that is speeding that will knock and no one can notice it, and it takes off. Even if it is an old vehicle, if some vehicle are being driven carefully, look at, for example, we rarely register crashes as much as we have these taxis around matatus in Kampala, which are in very, very poor state. But because their movements, they are not speeding, their movement, they're in jams, you find they rarely drive beyond like 30 kilometers per hour, I think. And how often, for example, do we register crashes out of them? But go to highways where these people have just bought good vehicles, where people are driving on very good roads, well tarmacked, newly refurbished, and all that. It's where here people are overturning because they want to test now the machines. We have, yes, those allegations are there that maybe corruption could also be another way that is contributing to these crashes on the road. However, as traffic police, we have a unit for compliance, or a unit that is called RAS Squad. This unit was formed and is there with us basically to check the discipline of these traffic officers. As much as we are checking the discipline of the drivers, we also check the discipline of our traffic officers. Those who misbehave, those who get vehicles and get money instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing. However, you notice that all we need in such situations is information. If, for example, we have not got information of how someone is behaving, because if you have to behave badly, they do that to the road users. No traffic officer, for example, will meet me and mistreat me or do weird things. No way, because they know. But then, when they do it to the other public, what do we expect of them? Let them give us information. This is something that we have talked time and again. Even giving our contacts that please call us just in case you encounter something that is not right. Tell us, speak up, don't keep quiet, because you realize that even some passengers in these matatus or even buses, maybe where they are seeing things that are not right, then they choose to do what? To keep quiet on both our traffic officers, even on the drivers who are moving them on these roads. Then they choose to do what? To keep quiet. But also, when we talk of corruption, let's not only think about money. Let's also think about where people want to use their influences to call and then say, that is my personal police traffic officer, let them do what? Let them go. And what does this one tell me, or what should it tell you? That it is high time, because we are discussing matters of life and death. You cannot choose. I've always told people, you cannot, for example, sit and watch a speeding driver getting 2,000, giving it to a traffic officer, and then letting that person go. Inside you as a passenger, you should actually be like burning and boiling and saying, no, I must give this information to someone who matters. If it means to get out and tell these officers, if it means to call someone and give this information, let me do it, because you cannot accept, for example, to exchange your own life exchanging money 2,000 with the lives of 14 people, for example, in an omnibus. You cannot. So I'm speaking to this, that let everyone understand and know that road safety is a collective responsibility. Every time people neglect what they are supposed to be doing, it is where problems start from. The court that we conduct every day here, trying those traffic officers that misbehave on the road. But do people give us information? Those who try to come out and volunteer and give us this information, they also now bring false information with their other intentions, ill intentions, which is not good. So I urge people, we are here for you. We have this team very well built up and with every other thing that is required, resources, to make sure that these officers who are doing things that are not right down there are also brought to books. We have toll-free numbers, actually, numbers that you call even when you do not have money on your phone. All you need is your phone charged. And this number is 0800 199,099. That is our toll-free number that you call anytime and give any information that you want. We have even got numbers that we can even send SMS or via WhatsApp. We have a number of 0779 999 999, where we can just send in our SMSs and say there's ABCD, just give the location where you are and give what has happened. And also, on top of calling, let me tell you, we are now in a modern era. We are in a modern era where you'll find that in a given bus, for example, where there are 60 passengers, 45 will have smartphones. Do we make use of these smartphones? Can we get some of that information? And some people by now have learned this and they are doing it. They are doing it, and we go ahead. For example, we have officers who have done ICT, and their role is just to pick that information and then send it to various departments or to the responsible officers for action to be taken. So we urge people, these phones, let's make use of them. Yeah, well, those allegations and complaints have always come up. We have heard about them, but I want to tell you that situations where we have got this and proved beyond reasonable doubt that yes, this happened and it was done by so and so, those people have been picked out and worked on according to the law. Or we also require of our officers just to report, because if he's an officer on the road, he has someone who supervises him. And the supervisor also has someone who supervises him. So we have always encouraged these officers to give us such information. If you meet someone, for example, who is violating and they want maybe to use their authorities, analyze if maybe there are people who have now right of way, for example, and of which now the country knows and the law talks about. Other than those such a people, we have always asked our officers, don't die in silence. Share with us such information. Tell us who is doing what and who is doing that. We get to know that information, and our director and other supervisors are people who will always come in immediately and want to see. But then also the message now that goes to such a people. People need to know that these crashes do not select and say we are only for this category of people. No way. Everyone. So regardless of who you are, as long as you are violating on the road, anything can happen to you at any time. At times when these vehicles are violating, not that they have the principles in those vehicles. Some of them do these things as drivers. Imagine you have got a job that you have been crying for as a driver, but then all you can do, you get to the road and then misuse and really make the public now hate your office. So please, drivers, to you, I appeal to you. I know most of you do these things when you have no your principles, because you know when they are there, they not allow you, for example, to drive on pavers, places where they walk from. They not allow you to overtake anyhow. They not allow you to nothing. But when you are alone, it is now when, and then now you use that and say, don't you see the vehicle I'm driving? That is wrong and it must stop. Let us all obey these laws and regulations on the road. Who has the right of way? It is important for people to know that who has the right of way. Number one in the country, that is His Excellence. He has the right of way. Actually, the law tells us that the moment you see that first lead car of His Excellency, you are advised to park along this roadside, park and even switch off the engine until when he moves. Then you can do what? You can start moving. That's what the law talks about. Then the Vice President, of course, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, we have the Prime Minister, we have the Chief Justice. Those are people that the law talks about when it comes to right of way. But then we also go ahead to see vehicles on emergency for military, vehicles on emergency for police, bullion vans, bullion vehicles that move money, but only for the central bank. So we don't expect now these other vehicles of other banks now that are also claiming or wanting right of way. No. Then ambulances on emergency. Not this business of again getting an ambulance. It's a businessman going to the bank because he knows there is jam, and now he jumps into an ambulance, and now they start confusing people, disorganizing people on the road, claiming that they have a sick person when they have someone who's going to bank money. So that is not allowed. So it has to be ambulances, but then with sick people, and the vehicles that are going to put off fires for police, they also have right of way. And for these other people that have got vehicles because you have a very good and big powerful car, you feel should have a right of way, that is absolutely wrong. And then you find people putting on sirens, scaring people, chasing away others because they want to drive on the road. That is what we at times term to be illegal sirens. And once in a while, we mount up such operations, and all these vehicles are got. And when we get to them, we don't have tickets for them, but direct, they are taken to court. And you have seen us, sometimes we have come and go to these vehicles, and that of course sometimes when now we relax like for a month, they come back. Yeah, you know, you cannot stop people from talking, and everyone is entitled to their opinion, and that is their opinion. But I don't really agree with it, and it's high time that people there who have also been believing in such to stop that. Because in most cases you have had the status on road safety on our road. It is not something that we admire. It is not something that we say, no, we are working, we are okay. No way. Things actually are not as good as you may think. But all that is causing this, the remedies are those that we come up to do to make sure that our roads are safe, especially by conducting those operations. When we are conducting operations, yes, as much as these people are got and then they pay these tickets, it is something that comes secondary. But what the primary thing is to make sure that these people deter from committing these offenses on the road, because it is when we can be safe, it is when we are sure that really our people are safe on the road. We have had all this. When it is towards when children are going back to school, and then we do these operations to make sure that people are safe, our children move well, and people say, I think now these officers are looking for school fees. We are enforcing elements, and people say, I think someone, a big person in the country, has imported elements. No, this must stop. This mentality must stop. This kind of attitude must stop. Let us know that all this is done to ensure that there is sanity, to ensure that there is discipline on our roads. And the more the discipline, the more the sanity, I'm telling you, it's when we have managed to reduce crashes on our roads. We are not many. We are not many compared to the motorcycles, for example, we are policing. These motorcycles, I gave you an example of running the red lights. A swarm of motorcycles are running these red lights. And then now you find there are two traffic officers. Even if you are the one, will you jump onto such motorcycles to impound them? Of course not. And you asked me that what do we intend to do? One, I have always told people every time I'm asked that, what do you think can be done? What do you think is a solution to this? I'm glad that something is on the way, the automatic EPS. This is going to be a medicine. This is going to solve a number of challenges on our roads. You asked a number of things on our way, and you realize that whatever I was talking about is because we are doing things manually. Even if our speed guns there that we have been using, they can only capture one vehicle at a time. And you stop this person, I'm telling you, have been on expressways here trying to do operations of speeding. These vehicles, out of 10, you only have 4 stop. The 6 will just drive and go away, even when you stop them. So the automation of EPS, which has at the moment has 2 offenses of speeding and running the red lights, it is a perfect system in a way that even when us traffic officers are sleeping in the night, as long as you are violating knowing that there are no traffic officers, you'll get yourself a ticket. That is the beauty. And that these cameras can capture like even 50 vehicles at a time as long as they are all violating. And all this with the aim of instilling discipline. Strict enforcement. We have sensitized, we have talked, I'm telling you. There's nowhere we have not gone to this country. Training, even including training on offensive driving. Yeah, with the help of the civil society organization and other companies. We have done all this, but it seems not to be changing much. So the researcher now comes and says, until when we do that strict enforcement, we may not achieve much. So the automation of the system of EPS really is something that is good, that we believe is likely to bring sanity. And instead of people making now noise, because you can choose not to pay these tickets, you can choose not to be a victim. For example, if you choose, for example, to obey the speed limits recommended on the road, it's good we're even coming out to tell you that as of now we are targeting speed and red lights. So you can choose to obey the red lights at all times, you can choose to obey the speed limits at all times, and then you're not a victim. I don't see really why people here should make noise. All with the aim of instilling discipline on our roads to make sure that people are safe. You are safe, and other road users are safe. And in this, the borders, the motorcyclists are not in any way exonerated. They are also going to be part of this system. For some of you who have been flying onto the red lights, please get to know that every time you violate this, you earn yourself a ticket. If you violate these lights 3 times, you earn yourself a ticket 3 times. So you either be disciplined on the road and save your money, or you become indisciplined by violating and you don't save anything by paying whatever you make in terms of fines. The red lights, of course, the money remains 100,000 as it has been in the previous systems. And then now, when it comes to speeding, it changes. It changes in a way that whoever violates in between 1 kilometer per hour to 30 kilometers per hour. What do I mean? A place where we are talking of 30 kilometers speed limit and you're driving 31 up to 60, the ticket is 200,000 Uganda shillings. But if now you exceed 30 kilometers in violation and plus, that means in a place of 30 kilometers per hour, you are driving 61, 62, up to 90 and so on. The ticket for you is 600 Uganda shillings. And these tickets must be paid within 72 hours after you have received the message. Short of that, it attracts a surcharge of 50%. So like I said, you can choose not to pay that money by doing what is right on the road.
Passenger transport buses have lately been in the spotlight following their involvement in numerous road crashes. Omar Kakanyire, chairperson of the Bus Drivers Advocacy Forum, outlined the initiative taken by bus drivers to foster sensitization and skills training as an effort to curb crashes on the roads.
Nengo omulamwa omukulu gwa kwegatta okukolera awamu nga tukolera awamu ne bitongole bya gavumenti n'ebyetongole by'obwannakyewa tulabe nga tusobola okulwanyisa obubenje ku nguudo nga number 1 priority.
And as COF2 and the Ministry of Labour, we are going to give all the support which is required. The employer mentioned something very, very important. He said in the past, there have been some elements of you drivers being disorganized. You come up with issues, but you can't push them at the end. That means that's the element of awareness training, and the COF2, we pledge that commitment together with the Ministry of Labour that we shall do the needful
I appeal to the public, members of the public, especially road users, on which everyone is a road user, that please let us understand and know that road safety is a collective responsibility. We must all do what we are supposed to do as passengers, as pedestrians, as drivers, mention them to make sure that our roads are safe. And to those who are accustomed, to those who are used to speeding and beating or running the red lights, please, it's high time, as early as yesterday, think twice. Reduce your speeds and start obeying the traffic lights in order not to fall a victim of the fines that we have just talked about.
Road safety in Uganda remains a pressing national concern, one that claims thousands of lives each year and leaves many more injured or permanently disabled. While efforts have been made by the traffic police, government agencies and civil societies to address the crisis, the persistence of fatal accidents, reckless driving, poor road infrastructure, and limited enforcement reveals the urgent need for a more comprehensive, transparent, and accountable approach. Solving this crisis requires more than just punitive measures. It demands political will, public awareness, modern traffic management systems, and a shift in both driver behavior and institutional culture.